Super Bowl 57 will go down as one of the most important Super Bowls in NFL history. Why? Well, for the first time ever, both teams will be led by black starting quarterbacks. With over 50% of the league made up of black players, this is a huge deal. On February 12, 2023, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs will look to become the first black quarterback to win more than one championship, while Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles will look to become the fourth black quarterback to win the pinnacle of the sport. Before history is made on Sunday, I wanted to look back at the building blocks of this historic moment. Tell me this, can you name every black starting quarterback that has played in the Super Bowl? I'll give you a second. Leave a comment down below if you think you can name them all. If not, then you're going to learn something today. It's only appropriate on Black History Month that we look back at the legacy of black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Before we get to the big game, we need to understand the history of the black quarterback itself. That is a topic that can be a whole video itself, but I'll give a brief history. The story of the black quarterback starts with pioneer Fritz Pollard. He was the first black backfield player to earn All-American honors at Brown University. He was the first black quarterback to play in the NFL, and even led the Akron Pros to the league's inaugural championship in 1920. Furthermore, in 1921, he became the first NFL black head coach when he served as co-head coach while he still played. Pollard's success was inspirational, especially with the discrimination he faced. This success threatened people in power though, because in 1933, the NFL owners, led by Washington Redskins owner George Marshall, created a gentleman's agreement to secretly keep black players out of the league. This agreement would stand until after World War II in 1946, when the Los Angeles Rams signed star running back Kenny Washington. Post-reintegration, opportunities were slim for black players, and almost non-existent at the quarterback position. The quarterback position is traditionally dubbed the smartest position on the field, and was said to be too complicated for black players to comprehend. In the 50s, players like New York's George Taliaferro and Chicago's Willie Thrower played quarterback in games but were given very limited opportunities to try to compete for a starting job. In 1968, Marlon Briscoe of the Denver Broncos became the first starting black quarterback of the modern era. He had a stellar year, finishing the season with over 1,500 passing yards and 14 touchdown passes to be runner-up for AFL Rookie of the Year. The next season, he was cut without explanation. In 1974, James Shaq Harris of the Los Angeles Rams became the first black quarterback to start and win a playoff game, play in the Pro Bowl, and win Pro Bowl MVP. The following year, he became the first black quarterback to start in a season opener. So that's a brief history that covers most of the historic milestones that these courageous men accomplished while under immense discrimination and hardships. Without their actions, we would have never seen a black quarterback lead his team to the top of the NFL mountain. It took the league over 65 years to have this moment, but that all changed on January 21st, 1988 in Super Bowl 22. When Doug Williams was on the field, he was always a playmaker. He was a 4-year starter at HBCU Grambling State University in the mid-70s and led the Tigers to 3 SWAC championships. Additionally, he was a 2-time Black College Player of the Year and finished 4th in the Heisman voting in 1977. After school, he was the first black quarterback selected in the first round of the NFL Draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and made the Bucs a winning franchise in his 5 years there. Salary disagreement led to his departure from Tampa in 1983 though. After a 2-year stint in the rival United States Football League, Williams returned to the NFL to play for former Tampa coach and then Washington Redskins head coach Joe Gibbs. In Washington, Williams would put himself on the path to history. Williams was a solid backup quarterback for the team in 1986, but in 87 there was much more of a quarterback battle between himself and starter Jay Schroeder. Both men started games for a Washington team that had finished the regular season 11-4 and with high playoff hopes. However, the starting quarterback spot always had a big question mark surrounding it. In the final regular season game of the year, tied 7-7 to the Minnesota Vikings, Coach Gibbs had seen enough of Schroeder's inconsistencies and subbed him out. Williams led the team to an overtime win and secured the starting role to set up a historic playoff run. Washington would win a close game against the Chicago Bears in the divisional round, followed by an ugly win against the Vikings in the NFC Championship. Williams wasn't a superstar in either game, but he made just enough plays to lead his team to Super Bowl 22. In just 1 month, Williams went from backup to the first black quarterback ever starting in a Super Bowl. As one would expect, there was a lot of media hype surrounding the game, but Williams just wanted to go out there and win a Super Bowl.
One thing about this, Joe Gibbs, Bobby Bear, and Jack King Cook didn't bring Doug Williams to San Diego. to show off a black quarterback. We know why we came here. We came here to work hard and win the Super Bowl.
In stuff out of a storybook, Williams played his best game of the year under the bright lights against John Elway and the Denver Broncos. The game started out slow for Washington as they were down 10-0 going into the second quarter, and Williams had an injury scare late in the first quarter when he dropped back for a pass and slipped on the grass, causing his knee to buckle. Williams will return on the following series in the second quarter and had one of the best quarters in Super Bowl history. He threw for 4 touchdowns in the second quarter alone, and an additional rushing touchdown put Washington up 35-10 going into the half. When the final zeros appeared on the clock, Williams had thrown for 340 passing yards total and 4 touchdowns in a single quarter, both Super Bowl records at the time. Williams was deservedly awarded the Super Bowl MVP and etched his name into the record books forever.
Most valuable player of Super Bowl 22 is quarterback Doug Williams of the Washington Redskins.
The first black quarterback to start a Super Bowl, the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
It would be over a decade before we saw another black quarterback in the big game, Steve McNair. McNair, another HBCU product from Alcorn State, was emerging as one of the top dual-threat quarterbacks in the league in the mid-90s. He would lead the 1999 Tennessee Titans in a Super Bowl run that featured some iconic moments. In the wildcard round, the Titans ran a kickoff return back with 16 seconds left to stun the Buffalo Bills in what's known as the Music City Miracle. In Super Bowl 34, the Titans were on the other side of a miracle against the greatest show on turf, St. Louis Rams. This game came down to the wire and is best known for the iconic tackle on the final play when Rams linebacker Mike Jones made a game-saving tackle, leaving Titans receiver Kevin Dyson 1 yard short of the end zone. McNair accounted for over 278 total yards through the air and on the ground to give his team a shot. Unfortunately, the age-old saying football is a game of inches came true for the Titans that day as they lost 23-16. We only had to wait 5 more years to see another black quarterback in the Super Bowl. Donovan McNabb led the Philadelphia Eagles to Super Bowl 39 against the New England Patriots in February of 2005. Interestingly enough, McNabb's path to the Super Bowl was intertwined with 2 other black quarterbacks. He had to beat Dante Culpepper of the Minnesota Vikings in the divisional round and Michael Vick's Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship. In the Super Bowl, McNabb went 30 for 51 with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, a below-average game for McNabb's standards. The game was close, but the Eagles made too many mistakes to fall to the Patriots 24-21. The next appearance of a black quarterback in the Super Bowl would come a long 8 years later. However, they started a string of 4 straight years featuring a black quarterback in the big game. Colin Kaepernick was the 4th black quarterback to appear in a championship game when he led the San Francisco 49ers to Super Bowl 47. I think Kaepernick's Super Bowl appearance is forgotten about due to all of his later controversy over kneeling. However, as a fellow Ravens fan, I can definitely tell you that Kaepernick made the second half of Super Bowl 47 very stressful. Kaepernick became the starter for the Niners mid-season after a concussion sidelined starter Alex Smith for 2 games. However, even after Smith recovered, head coach Jim Harbaugh wanted to stick with Kaepernick as the full-time starter due to his big arm and running ability. The 49ers beat the Packers and the Falcons to advance to Super Bowl 47, which had the fun matchup of 49ers coach Jim Harbaugh facing his brother and Ravens head coach John Harbaugh. Kaepernick had a huge game accounting for 364 yards with 1 rushing and 1 passing touchdown. He led the team from down 28-6 in the second half to as close as 31-29 in the fourth quarter. However, the Ravens were just too good and held on to win 34-31. The following 2 seasons, Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson would etch his name into the history books by becoming just the 2nd black quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl and the 1st black quarterback to appear in more than one of them. 2 achievements that are not talked about with Wilson enough. In Super Bowl 48, the Seahawks scored on a safety, pick 6, kickoff return, and normal offense to whoop the Denver Broncos 43-8. Wilson contributed 2 touchdowns and honestly didn't need to do much to ensure that win. The following year, the Seahawks returned to the big game to face the New England Patriots in one of the most exciting Super Bowls ever. The game started as a defensive struggle, then became a game of runs in the second half. The end of the game lives in infamy when Wilson threw an interception on the 1 yard line with 20 seconds left in the game, standing next to arguably the best running back in the league. The Patriots will go on to win 28-24. On February 7, 2016, Cam Newton made his mark on the legacy of black quarterbacks by leading the Carolina Panthers to Super Bowl 50. During the 2015 season, Cam was the man. He accounted for over 4,400 yards and 45 touchdowns through the air and on the ground. These stats led him to be the first black quarterback to outright win league MVP. Side note, Steve McNair technically was the first black quarterback to win this award, but McNair was a co-winner with Peyton Manning in 2003. Alright, back to the story. Cam Newton's Panthers were 17-1 going into the Super Bowl against the Peyton Manning-led Denver Broncos. In that game, Superman Cam was hit by his kryptonite in the form of the Denver defense and posted a lowly 55.4 QB rating with 0 touchdowns. The Panthers fell 24-10. 4 years later, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes became the 7th black quarterback to play for a championship with his appearance in Super Bowl 54. Against the 49ers, the Chiefs scored 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to make Mahomes the 3rd black quarterback to ever win the big game. Mahomes had a clutch game with 3 touchdowns to be awarded Super Bowl MVP. The next year, Mahomes and the Chiefs returned to the Super Bowl looking to become the first repeat champions since the 04 Patriots. That quest fell short to the revamped Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by none other than former Patriot Tom Brady. So there you have it, every black quarterback that has ever played in the final game of the season. Now in 2023, the NFL history books are once again being rewritten with Mahomes and Hurts' appearance in the Super Bowl. In a league that did so much to keep black men out of the quarterback position, one is guaranteed to win on Sunday. On Black History Month too, that script just seems too perfect. So once again, thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you learned something. This was a really fun video to make. I appreciate all the support so far, and leave a comment down below on who's your favorite quarterback that I talked about. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Hope your team wins, or you hope you have a great party surrounding it. See you next time.